on Trump cryptocurrency tokens in exchange for an invitation to Trump National Golf Course in D.C. to see the president.
Listen, I've been around this space long enough to know the difference between hype and substance, and if you've been following crypto even casually over the last few years, you've seen it too. Every cycle, it's the same story. Thousands of coins get minted out of thin air, TikTok and Twitter pump them with promises of generational wealth, and people throw money at them hoping for that one moonshot. Then, most of them vanish. Websites shut down, Discord servers get abandoned, liquidity disappears, and what's left? Holders stuck with bags of digital dust. That's crypto for you if you don't filter through the noise. And in 2025, there's still noise, maybe even louder than ever. We've got AI coins, meme coins, celebrity coins, frog coins, dog coins, cat coins, and everything in between. But strip away the marketing, strip away the pump and dump schemes, and only a handful of projects actually matter. Only a handful are solving real problems at scale. Only a handful have real-world adoption. And when I say real-world adoption, I'm not talking about someone shilling their coin in a Telegram group. I'm talking about governments, banks, enterprises, NGOs, Fortune 500 companies, actual financial institutions putting these networks into use. Because that's the only way crypto survives long-term. The retail hype fades, the gambling crowd moves on, but infrastructure, the rails that move money, that connect economies, that underpin the financial system, that's the stuff that lasts. And right now, in 2025, 3 names rise above the rest. Stellar's XLM, Hedera's HBAR, and Ripple's XRP. Now, people always ask me, why these 3? Why not Bitcoin, why not Ethereum, why not Solana, or the latest hot L2 that everyone's talking about? And look, I'm not here to disrespect Bitcoin or Ethereum. Bitcoin is the granddaddy, the original digital gold. Ethereum is the innovation hub, the experimental playground where DeFi was born. But here's the reality. Bitcoin doesn't move money, it stores it. Ethereum is still clogged, still expensive, still facing constant competition from layer 2s and sidechains. And while Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, Polkadot, you name it, they all have interesting tech, what's the adoption? Where's the government usage? Where's the enterprise integration? It's not there at the same level. Meanwhile, XLM, HBAR, and XRP are out there signing deals, integrating with central banks, powering payment corridors, and securing enterprise tokenization projects. These 3 aren't just crypto assets anymore. They're becoming financial infrastructure. So let me lay this out clearly. 2025 is not about chasing the next meme coin or getting wrecked by a rug pull. It's about understanding the shift that's happening right under our noses. Money is going digital. Payments are going digital. Assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, carbon credits are being tokenized. Governments are rolling out central bank digital currencies. Banks are upgrading their settlement systems after decades of running on clunky, outdated rails. And who do you think is building the plumbing for all of this? Who do you think is in the boardrooms with regulators, with banks, with NGOs? Not the meme coins, not the AI hype tokens. It's the utility players, XLM, HBAR, and XRP. Let's start with Stellar's XLM, because this one doesn't get enough credit. Stellar has quietly positioned itself as the people's settlement coin. It's been in talks with central banks, it's powering cross-border payments, and in 2025 it's making huge strides in humanitarian aid delivery. We're talking the UN, NGOs, refugee programs, actual life-changing utility. When aid needs to move into a war zone or a natural disaster area, you can't rely on banks with week-long settlement times. You need instant, cheap, reliable transfers. And that's exactly what Stellar provides. On top of that, Stellar has been working on central bank digital currency pilots, giving governments a lightweight, scalable, interoperable way to launch their CBDCs without building from scratch. It's not about hype. It's about quietly embedding itself into the financial system at the level of governments and humanitarian institutions. Then there's Hedera HBAR, the enterprise blockchain that everyone used to ignore because it didn't have the flashy community hype of Ethereum or Solana. But guess what? While people were laughing at it, Hedera was signing partnerships with Google, IBM, Boeing, and a whole governing council of Fortune 500 giants. And here in 2025, HBAR is running massive tokenization projects. We're talking real-world assets, everything from supply chain verification to carbon markets to financial instruments. Hedera's unique hashgraph tech isn't a gimmick. It's what allows for high throughput, finality in seconds, and enterprise-grade performance. They've launched tokenization studios, they've enabled stablecoin deployment, and they're positioning themselves as the go-to platform for businesses that don't want the chaos of Ethereum gas fees or Solana outages. HBAR is the quiet, underrated backbone of enterprise crypto, and it's finally getting the recognition it deserves. And finally, XRP, the most controversial, the most hated, the most resilient coin in crypto history. XRP has been through hell. Lawsuits, delistings, endless FUD. People called it dead 100 times. And yet, in 2025, it's standing stronger than ever. Why? Because Ripple's vision never changed. They wanted to build the world's settlement layer. They wanted to replace outdated SWIFT transfers with something instant, something liquid, something global. And with regulatory clarity now in place, with new banking corridors opening every quarter, with tokenization of treasuries and carbon credits happening on the XRP ledger, XRP is finally living up to its potential. We're seeing ETFs being discussed, we're seeing banks quietly accumulate, we're seeing real adoption. Not hype adoption, real adoption. Put these three together, XLM, HBAR, and XRP, and you've got what I call the trinity of utility. They're not competing in the same lane. XLM is humanitarian and CBDC focused, XRP is bank and liquidity focused, HBAR is enterprise and tokenization focused. Together they form the pillars of the new financial system that's being built. And people still don't see it because they're distracted by dog coins and AI coins. But the institutions see it. The governments see it. The enterprises see it. And by the time retail catches on, these won't be penny coins anymore. They'll be the backbone of money. That's why I'm making this video, that's why I'm telling you to pay attention. Because history is repeating itself. In the dot-com boom, thousands of websites popped up, but only a few became the infrastructure of the internet: Google, Amazon, Microsoft. In crypto, thousands of tokens exist, but only a handful will become the infrastructure of the financial internet. And in 2025, those names are becoming clearer: Stellar's XLM, Hedera's HBAR, and Ripple's XRP. Ignore the noise, zoom out, and you'll see it. Let's talk about Stellar, because if there's one project in crypto that's been criminally underrated for years, it's XLM. And I get it, Stellar has never had the hype machine behind it. It doesn't have influencers screaming Lumbo over it. It doesn't have meme armies pushing it on Twitter. It doesn't have the flashy marketing campaigns. But you know what it does have? Real adoption, real usage, real-world impact that makes a difference in people's lives today, not in some vague future. And in 2025, that's becoming crystal clear. Stellar isn't just another crypto. It's becoming a backbone for humanitarian aid, cross-border payments, and central bank innovation. Let's start with what makes Stellar different. From day one, Stellar was designed to move money, fast, cheap, reliable. That's it. No gimmicks, no overcomplication. If you want to move value from one place to another, Stellar can do it in seconds for a fraction of a cent. And while other blockchains spent years debating governance models or getting stuck in gas fee debates, Stellar just kept building. And now, in 2025, when the world is finally waking up to the fact that payments need to go digital, Stellar's been sitting there like, hey, we've been ready for years. One of the most powerful examples of Stellar's real-world impact is its work with humanitarian aid. Look at what's happening with the UN and NGOs. When aid needs to be delivered into crisis zones, whether it's war, natural disasters, or refugee camps, traditional financial systems fail. Banks don't operate efficiently in these regions. Settlement takes days, fees eat up precious resources, and sometimes entire transfers just get blocked because of outdated correspondent banking networks. Stellar steps in and solves that. With Stellar, NGOs can send digital vouchers or stablecoins instantly to people on the ground, and those people can use them for food, medicine, and shelter. We're talking about real human lives being improved because money gets where it needs to go when it needs to go. And in 2025, with conflicts and climate disasters happening more frequently, Stellar has quietly become the go-to settlement layer for aid organizations. That's utility you can't fake. But it doesn't stop there. Central banks have started to notice Stellar too. Over the past few years, CBDCs have gone from theory to pilot to rollout. And governments face a huge problem. Building a CBDC infrastructure from scratch is insanely expensive and complex. Why reinvent the wheel when Stellar already has a lightweight, scalable, and interoperable system that can plug right in? That's why we've seen multiple central banks partnering with Stellar for pilots and testing. Stellar gives them the rails, and they layer their national currency on top. Simple, efficient, proven. In fact, one of the biggest moves in 2024 was the announcement of several African and Latin American countries exploring Stellar rails for their CBDCs, and in 2025 those pilots are scaling up. That means Stellar isn't just helping NGOs, it's helping entire governments modernize their money systems. And here's the thing most people don't understand. Stellar and XRP are not enemies. They're not even in the same lane. People always want to pit them against each other. XRP is the bank coin, Stellar is the people's coin. But that's exactly the point. They complement each other. XRP is building the rails for interbank settlements, for large-scale liquidity transfers. Stellar is focused on retail, on NGOs, on CBDCs that touch everyday people. Put those two together, and you've got both the top-down and bottom-up sides of the new financial system. XRP moves the big money, Stellar moves the people's money. That's not competition, that's synergy. Now, let's talk adoption numbers because this is where things get wild. In 2023, Stellar processed over 1 billion transactions. In 2024, that number doubled. And here in 2025, with the rise of CBDCs and humanitarian usage, Stellar is processing volumes that rival some legacy payment providers. We're talking Visa-level scalability, but running on open blockchain rails. Think about that for a second. While everyone's distracted by whether Dogecoin will hit $1, Stellar is literally running the infrastructure for aid delivery in central banks. That's the disconnect between retail hype and real adoption. And don't forget the stablecoin angle. Stablecoins are exploding in 2025. After all the drama with algorithmic stablecoins and regulatory crackdowns, the market finally settled on one truth. People want trusted, regulated stablecoins, and they want them on fast, cheap networks. Stellar has become one of the prime homes for stablecoins because it's lightweight, efficient, and doesn't suffer from congestion the way Ethereum does. USDC on Stellar is already being used in cross-border transfers, and new regional stablecoins are popping up too. That means Stellar isn't just a blockchain, it's becoming a marketplace of money. Different currencies, different stablecoins, all flowing through the same network. That's huge. And I can't stress this enough. Stellar has positioned itself perfectly for this exact moment. The world is shifting. Cross-border remittances are a multi-trillion-dollar market. Humanitarian aid requires digital rails. Central banks are under pressure to modernize. Stablecoins are the bridge between crypto and fiat. And Stellar has its hands in all of it. Not in a flashy way, not in a hype-driven way, but in a quiet, focused, relentless way. They just keep building, keep partnering, keep integrating. And while the average retail investor is distracted by the next memecoin pump, Stellar is literally embedding itself into the financial fabric of the world. So here's my take. In 2025, Stellar is the ultimate underdog story. It's the coin that never chased hype but ended up being one of the most important. It's the coin that NGOs and central banks trust, not just crypto degens. It's the coin that proves utility beats noise every single time. And for anyone paying attention, it's one of the clearest asymmetric bets in crypto today. Because while most of the market is gambling, Stellar is building. And history shows that when the dust settles, the builders win. Now let's shift gears and talk about Hedera, because if Stellar is the quiet backbone of inclusion, Hedera is the enterprise machine that almost nobody outside of crypto circles is giving enough credit to. And I'll say this straight, HBAR is criminally underrated in 2025. Why? Because it doesn't scream hype. It doesn't chase the latest meme. It's not fighting for attention with flashy partnerships that never go anywhere. Hedera has done something completely different. It built a governing council of some of the largest corporations in the world, and it turned blockchain into something enterprises can actually trust. Think about it. Google, IBM, Boeing, LG, Standard Bank, Deutsche Telekom, and dozens more sit on Hedera's governing council. These aren't no-name companies. These are household names, trillion-dollar industries represented. And they're not just sitting there with their logos slapped on a website. They're running nodes. They're shaping governance. They're literally building on top of the Hedera network. That's a level of legitimacy that almost no other crypto project can claim. And in 2025, when enterprises are finally starting to lean harder into blockchain for tokenization, supply chain, sustainability tracking, and financial settlements, who do you think they're going to trust? A DAO run by Anon avatars on Twitter, or a network backed by Fortune 500s? Exactly. Now let's talk utility, because this is where Hedera quietly crushes it. The stablecoin studio on Hedera is one of the biggest developments of 2024 that most of crypto Twitter completely slept on. It allows any bank, fintech, or enterprise to mint and manage stablecoins at scale, with compliance baked in. That's a game changer. Because in 2025, stablecoins are not just about crypto trading anymore, they're about payroll, remittances, e-commerce, and even government payouts. And Hedera is sitting right there, offering the infrastructure. That's real adoption. Then you've got tokenization of real-world assets. Everyone is talking about RWAs in 2025, whether it's tokenized treasuries, tokenized real estate, or carbon credits. Guess what? A huge amount of that activity is flowing through Hedera. The Guardian platform has already proven itself as a leader in environmental tokenization. You've got projects issuing verifiable carbon credits on Hedera, companies tracking supply chain emissions, and even governments looking at how Hedera can underpin ESG reporting. That's not speculative value, that's value tied directly to trillion-dollar industries. And don't even get me started on transaction volume. If you actually look at the numbers, Hedera consistently processes more transactions daily than most of the big-name blockchains combined. We're talking hundreds of millions of transactions, quietly humming in the background. And no, it's not fake spam. It's ad tech, micropayments, NFT royalties, enterprise apps. That's real throughput. That's scale. That's exactly what blockchain was supposed to be about. Millions of people using it without even realizing they're using it. But here's the best part, Hedera isn't trying to replace every other chain. It's not saying we're the only future. It's focused. It's about trust, compliance, scale, and enterprise use cases. That's a lane most crypto projects can't even enter because they don't have the governance, the partnerships, or the technical architecture. Hedera does. And in 2025, that's finally starting to pay off. So when I look at HBAR, I don't see a speculative meme. I see an enterprise-grade public network that's solving problems governments and corporations actually care about: tokenization, ESG, payments, compliance. And just like Stellar, it's undervalued precisely because it's not chasing hype. But here's the thing about utility, eventually the market wakes up. And when it does, the re-rating is explosive. Hedera is playing the long game. And if you've got the patience, if you can look past the noise, you'll see what I see. A sleeping giant that's slowly waking up. And now we get to XRP, and listen, this one is different. Because unlike Stellar and Hedera, XRP isn't just about utility and adoption, it's about a fight. It's about survival. It's about standing toe-to-toe with regulators, getting dragged through years of lawsuits, and still standing tall in 2025. That story alone makes XRP unique in crypto, because no other project has taken as much heat from the SEC and still managed to thrive. Let's be real, most projects would have died under that kind of pressure. Years of court battles, headlines painting XRP as a security, exchanges delisting it left and right, could have been the end. But instead, Ripple turned that fight into fuel. They got the clarity that almost no other crypto asset has right now. A federal judge literally ruled XRP is not a security when traded on the secondary market. That's huge. That's clarity Bitcoin and Ethereum don't even officially have yet. And it means XRP is one of the few assets with a legal green light to keep moving forward in the US. But the XRP story is bigger than just law. It's about what Ripple has been building this whole time while everyone else was arguing. RippleNet, on-demand liquidity, cross-border settlements. This is infrastructure that is already being used by banks and payment providers around the world. When you talk about real-world adoption, XRP is one of the only tokens actually moving billions in value through corridors between Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And it's doing it faster and cheaper than Swift ever could. That's not a dream, that's happening now. The other thing that sets XRP apart is the narrative around central banks and CBDCs. A lot of people love to hate on Ripple for being too close to the system, but that's exactly the point. While most crypto wants to burn the old world down, Ripple is integrating with it. They're working with regulators, central banks, and financial institutions. They're positioning XRP as the bridge currency of the new digital economy. Liquidity on tap for CBDCs, stablecoins, and tokenized assets. You might not like that narrative if you're hardcore decentralization only, but you can't deny the scale of it. If it works, XRP becomes the plumbing of the global financial system. And in 2025, that's why XRP feels different from Stellar or Hedera. Those two are about building quiet infrastructure. XRP is about fighting its way into relevance and coming out stronger on the other side. It's got the scars to prove it. And that fight has given it something the others don't have yet. Legal clarity, battle-tested resilience, and a global network of banks already in motion. So while most of crypto is still arguing about regulation, XRP has already faced the storm. And that's why it deserves its own lane in this conversation, not just as a utility coin, but as proof that crypto can take on the system and survive. So if you've made it this far, you already know the deal. XLM, HBAR, and XRP aren't just hype plays, they're real infrastructure coins shaping the future of money. And this space moves fast, so staying ahead matters. If you found value in this breakdown, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on which of the three you're most bullish on, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. This channel is all about cutting through the noise and getting to what really matters in crypto. Let's keep building together.